All right, if I could please get everybody's attention, we'll go ahead and open up tonight's Monday, July 20th legislative session to order at 5:30 p.m. If I could please get everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, republic for which it stands, indivisible. All right, just a quick reminder to the council about our shared beliefs of being open and honest. That'll bring us in a roll call.
Larry Bowman.
Present.
Davin Perry.
Present.
Cassandra Quisnell. Carrie Bro.
Present.
Bill Campbell.
Present.
Jesse Camacho.
Present.
Jennifer Morton.
Present.
Let the record show the following staff are in attendance: City Manager Albert Tripp, City Attorney Dan Gibbons, Public Works Director Catherine Miller, Associate Planner Zach Becker, Police Chief Brad Richmond, Captain Jake Keith, Court Administrator Katie Dorman, Assistant Clerk Treasurer Tanya Dashiell.
All right, thank you. We do have one member that is not in attendance. Council, what would we like to do about the Miss Cassandra not being here this evening?
Has she contacted anyone?
Nope, I have not. Mr. Tripp, has she come? Okay. No.
Not.
Okay. All right, we have had a lot of absences from this member, and we'll leave it up to council what we would like to do, if we want to excuse this absence or not at this point. I've not been contacted, neither has Mr. Tripp. So the floor is open to the council to make a motion on this.
Is she in some sort of situation or something? Last time I heard that she was in the middle of a situation. I don't know, it's personal, so she didn't elaborate, but.
I mean, I have heard a little bit, but I'm not going to discuss people's personal information.
Right. I don't know anything about that either.
And I mean, if you guys would like to have an executive session, either today or at another time to discuss, we can have that discussion.
Well, being new, I don't know like what's in front of us. Like how do we handle it? Usually we move to, move to excuse. I mean, what do we do?
And I can have.
So regarding absences, there's excused and non-excused absences. If as normally happens, an absence is excused, it's like it never really happened. It's like not a non-factor. If there are, and I was just looking it up to make sure I'm correct, but if there are two consecutive non-excused absences, then is it three? Yeah, there's three consecutive non-excused absences under both the council rules and state law, then the position becomes vacant.
But they have to be consecutive.
Correct. And not excused.
All right, so
I will move to make this a non-excused absence.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any further questions or comments? And there's nobody online, correct?
Okay.
All right. I have a motion. I have a second. No further questions or comments. Council, all those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. That'll move us into tonight's agenda approval. Any changes to tonight's agenda?
Mr. Bowman, to move the public hearing right before item B, we're going to do the public hearing right before item B this evening.
Okay. Yeah, so we are going to move item 8 to just right before item 11.
Correct.
Have a public hearing on the second reading of ordinance C-1129. I know that we used to do the public hearings for second readings of certain ordinances, and city staff is going to get back to us about a change in not just the agenda format here, but also for just to communicate when they're required.
Mr. Chair, in addition, there's one other agenda addition, which includes a agreement with Cheney Public Schools for the Yes Officer program.
Can you repeat that one more time? I didn't hear you.
There's one agenda addition scheduled for this evening. Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. I thought it was going to be occurring tonight. Please disregard.
Okay. Next week. Okay. All right. Any other changes to the agenda? All right, council, what would you like to do about tonight's agenda?
Move to approve.
Move to approve with the change.
Yes.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that two passes unanimously. I don't see any calls for announcements or presentations that'll move us directly into council reports. Anything?
Mr. Lee? In lieu with like the book that we passed out and, there was, a bit of discussion last week. I think it'd be really great for us as a council and even for our department heads to take a little time. Where do we want to see ourselves in a year as a city? Where do we want to see ourselves in 5 years? And I know you're on your way out, but I still, your knowledge is always great advice and whatever you have to say. One of the things I learned for myself down at the AWC conference was I was not taking this seriously enough. This is a big deal. And, listening to the bigger cities, I'm very thankful that we don't have those problems. We have our own. But, it's our job to drive this city. And it's not that we don't have a direction, but I'd like us to kind of all be on the same page. When you talk, we say businesses, that's a tough one. It's really tough to get places out here. But we need to make it easier. And I just think it would be really worth our while. We can, put it out there for now. We can wait till, next week's study session. We can put it out even a couple of weeks. But I just think it's really, really, really important. We're not, if you say Leavenworth, we don't have that attraction. We don't have, something to come look at and come see. Our main street, unfortunately, is a highway. We need to figure out how to make it better and how to make it that people want to come here and just make it a better place.
Anything else? Mr. Camacho, anything? Council report? Miss Morton, anything for the council report? Right. To piggyback on that, that's something that we brought up, last week is about the retreats. And, it's not just for us, it's also for, our city staff and for our department heads, for us to, come together and to brainstorm. And I brought up, the one that we did in Coeur d'Alene at the resort, and even the one we did up in Sandpoint. I think that those two were some of the most pivotal moments in the city's direction in our kind of history of, in my 11 years sitting up here, that was where I seen the most changes. I'll just say that, where I think that not just the council, but department heads got on the same page, and where, there wasn't, a questioning of anybody. There was no kind of infighting or anything else. It was really, we had a direction to go. Let's go this direction. So, maybe in the future, even after, I leave in a year and a half, that we start investing in ourselves like that again. And not to say that we have the funds to just go spend an exorbitant amount of money on retreats, but the investment there, I believe, was really worth it. Because the time and effort that we put into ourselves, getting away from our city, getting to a point where we can all be around each other, not just during our little sessions, but also going out to dinner and connecting with one another and being, able to just talk and get to know people and have those conversations. I think is one of the most important things we did as a city. And I truly, truly believe, that in moving forward, you're right. This is one of the most important things, jobs in a city is, those of us elected, but also the leadership of our department heads, pointing us in a direction of where they see stuff going, but also, how to get there, because we can transition every 4 years. They're here for long term, but they also have a world of experience and knowledge from being, chief, being in, police for how long now? 34 years, yeah, of, that knowledge and experience. But, that's everybody in this room has different experiences and knowledge from every different position, every job that they've had leading up to their role within the city. And this is only a short time that we're here and we're in these roles. But that was definitely one thing that I think got all of us on the same page and moving forward for a couple of years, because we have not, in my opinion, done a great job of, even with our community partners in the Indian tribes, connecting with them. Sometimes it's harder to do than it is others. Sometimes it's, not received well. Sometimes it's not, it's from council to council. It's hard to get our schedules to align, but we can always do a better job and we can always do more. And yeah, so I definitely agree with that. And moving forward, that's one way that I definitely think that, investing in ourselves and the retreats and everything else and moving forward is something that we need to get back to. So,
And you need to have that prime rib too, so
yeah.
I ain't joking about that prime rib either. You'll get my attention if you got that food.
Hey,
You're sitting there and I'm
it was
hungry.
always good food. It was always good food. We had fun during those. I mean, Mr. Tripp, you want to add anything to that?
I think you and Carrie said it best. And the value and the importance of the process that both of you identified can be underscored. Because what happens is that, we're assuming we're heading in the right direction. The value of those processes is that it flushes it out and it brings it to the surface to show we are more alike, we're pointed in the same direction. And it's hard to know that sometimes in isolation.
Yeah. It just gives everybody a path to take another step on too. So,
Oh yeah, and one more thing, and piggyback on what you said. There's a Zoom meeting on that book.
Yes.
Yeah, so I registered for that, so.
You will greatly enjoy it. He does a really good job of that.
I know, and my mentor on council, which happens to be sitting over there. Yeah, that was one thing that we always discuss is just coming together and how important the AWC trainings are, but also just reaching out to other bodies, reaching out to other cities, reaching out. I mean, I remember Dave Millay and we went all the way out to Asante, Minnesota, to another council in another area just to research something that, potentially we were going to bring back to the city. And it was incredible just to have another smaller city open up the red carpet, but also see what the spillover effect of, bringing in a sports complex or bringing in, a rec center, bringing in something else. Like it's up to all of us to do it, and there's a budget for it. I know half the time that, our budget needs to be absorbed for city council. R&D needs to be absorbed back into other priorities, but those investments are very important and they need to be done, and it gives us direction and it gives us a good path to go down. So anything else for council comments?
I'm just shooting on the hip with this one, but I've attended about 4 funerals between last month and this month into town. And I just wanted to ask, is there any way we can identify, you know, the folks that have been here for a while so we can give them at least a darn card saying, hey, you know, condolences or anything? Because, you know, I go to these funerals and, you know, it's like I think it's a good way to connect with folks, just to let them know that we're here. But that's just my thing. You know, I come from an island where people are very concerned when other people die. And there have been members of these, like Mr. Leopard's been here forever, across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. We buried him in Medical Lake, and it just hit me. You know, it'd be nice to give him a card or something, but I don't know how we're going to monitor, you know, how these things happen. But
Yeah. I know, and we do have, you know, mechanisms for recognition of great volunteers, you know, people that have been involved with the community for a long time. We do have those mechanisms in place, and, you know, we try to visit them with street names, with other stuff, but it's, you know, up to the council to kind of, and the staff to iron out, you know, how people are honored within the community. So I don't know what we can do, but think about some ideas, bring it back up to council. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Anything else for council reports? Sorry that. Got some jazz music, huh? All right. That'll move us on to staff reports.
Is there any member of staff who has a report this evening? Mr. Tripp?
Thank you very much. City Chair and Council, just a couple of quick reminders. First off, the Public Works Committee is scheduled to meet immediately following this meeting for a continued conversation around reclaimed water. And then secondly, there's an open invitation for the same committee to join for a broader informational overview. It's in the same vein of thought. Several of you were just sharing a few moments ago in terms of learning from other communities as far as how they're processing and permitting different types of land uses coming within their community. But if you're interested in that, do let me know. And then lastly, there seemed to be interest in adding an additional committee to the council rules of committee. And so I'm seeking to get any council input up in terms of what that committee structure could look like. So then we could have a possible draft on your study session agenda next Monday. So if you have some thoughts around what that could look like, just let me know and we'll bake it into the draft and then have it ready for council's discussion on next Monday at your study session. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any other staff member?
All right. That'll move us into public hearings been moved forward. Consent agenda. Item CA1 is the request for approval for city council meeting minutes from July 6, 2026. The CA2 is the request for approval of minutes from July 13th, 2026. CA3 is a purchase approval registry in the amount of $59,795 to pay in Hamlin for legal services. Council, what would we like to do about tonight's consent agenda?
Actually, I have a couple of questions on the approval register for Payne Hamlin. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a couple I wasn't familiar with. There was one for Chris Langen. And that is just brief is all.
Mr. Langen is an employee in the police department.
Got it. Okay. LLM LLC.
That's an entity that is owned by Sean Green, who has initiated litigation against the city.
Last one. Dispute with Defender Homes, Airway Heights LLC.
There's no, well, the city is not subject to that particular lawsuit. Defender Homes is owned by Steve Entman. Defender Homes executed a letter of credit where Spokane County Engineers is the beneficiary. There's a promissory note that underlies that is due and payable to State Bank Northwest. A threat of litigation was made against the city by Defender Homes. The city is considering how to draw on the letter of credit, I think is what I can say.
How to what? I'm sorry.
How to draw upon the letter of credit, meaning getting paid on it.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments about any of the consent agendas?
Did you have a first and a second? Did you have a first and a second?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right, council, what would we like to do about the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Camacho, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. And move us into action item A, the singular wireless contract, the second amendment to site lease agreement. Ms. Miller, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Council. Singular Wireless has been in a contract with the city of Airway Heights since '97. This is to hang their wireless equipment on our tank that's located in Sunset Park. The tank is approximately 140 feet tall. And this is a second amendment to the existing contract. This will extend the contract for 5 years and 5 additional extensions. So 25 years total in 5-year chunks. And over that time, each year, the rent will go up by 3%. So today, the rent is $2,585.49. When this contract is live, which will be next year, February of 27, the rent will go to $3,776.46. And then each year after that, it will go up by 3% over those 25 years.
Okay, and then did have this question about each 5-year contract. At the end of each 5-year contract, it's an automatic renewal into the next 5-year.
Correct.
But is there any mechanism in place there if, let's say the equipment's not being maintained or something else? Is there a mechanism in there for us to have a say in the contract and moving forward?
So the original lease does have language in there to control our destiny in terms of if they're not fulfilling the contract. This amendment is just talking about the extension of times.
Okay.
Catherine, on that 3%, is there any stipulation in there whether that thing can change and even get higher, or is
No,
that a solid
this is
3 for every?
3% to obviously acknowledge an inflationary amount. This is very standard in terms of the other contracts I've seen in the region have a standard percent increase.
Okay. All right. Any further questions or comments on the singular wireless contract? Not seeing any. All right, council, what would you like to do about item A?
Move to approve.
Oops, I'm sorry. I normally don't. Go ahead.
Yeah, move to approve.
All right, a motion. Do I have a second? All right, I got my second. All right, if there's no further questions or comments, all those in favor? Okay, that passed unanimously.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to go ahead and move into a public hearing for ordinance C-1129 in Title 19 Critical Areas Amendment. So if we could please have the ordinance read into the record, and then we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing at 5:53.
Mr. Gibbons, do we open the public hearing, close it, and then read the ordinance? Is that correct?
That's fine.
Okay, we can do it that way as well. All right,
Okay.
go ahead, sir. Floor is yours. No, I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it's how are they going to know unless they have the ordinance read to
Yeah.
the public?
Okay. Well, real quick, ordinance C-1129 proposes amendments to Title 19, which is our critical area ordinance update. The Growth Management Act requires all cities and counties in Washington to adopt regulations protecting critical areas in order to preserve the natural environment, wildlife habitat, and sources of fresh drinking water. Critical area regulations also encourage public safety by limiting development in areas prone to natural hazards like floods and landslides. Counties and cities are required to include the best available science in developing policies and development regulations to protect the function and values of critical areas per RCW 3670A172. All jurisdictions are required to review, evaluate, and if necessary, revise their critical area ordinances according to the state adopted update periodic schedule. This amendment is being proposed as a function of the city's 2026 periodic update. RCW 3670A030 defines 5 types of critical areas: wetlands, areas with critical recharging effect on aquifers used for the potable system; fish and wildlife habitat conservation areas; frequently flooded areas; and geologically hazardous areas. The proposed action is to provide text amendments to the Municipal Code Title 19 Critical Area Ordinance through Ordinance C-1129. This includes numerous amendments throughout the text based on feedback from state agencies, including the Washington State Departments of Commerce, Fish and Wildlife, Natural Resources, and Ecology. There are also general updates to align with the most recent practices and best available science. We amended references to ensure the language is directing applicants to the most recent publications and resources and management practices for shrub step priority habitat. These amendments were reviewed and unanimously recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, and they are now in front of you.
All right, thank you. Well, this time we'll be taking public comment if there is any on ordinance C-1129. All right, I'm not seeing anybody online raising their hand. All right. Going once, going twice. All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 5:56. Thank you, Mr. Becker. All right, that'll move us into item B, which is the second read of ordinance C-1129.
Ordinance C-1129, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending Airway Heights Municipal Code Title 19 entitled Critical Areas and providing for other matters related thereto.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Everything that
we
you
don't normally
just
do this that way, so it's slow. Once again, C-1129 provides amendments to the city's critical area ordinance. This is proposed as a function of the 2026 periodic update.
All right, thank you. Council, what would you like to do about item B, this ordinance C-1129?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any further questions or comments on it? All right, not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. That'll move us on to last item of this evening, Resolution 2026-017, proposition for change in form of government. And Tripp, the floor is yours.
Defer to Mr. Gibbons.
This was on the study session agenda for last week. There was an executive session where the legal risks were discussed. And I think we're at the point where council can obviously take action upon this. If no action is taken, then the record would reflect that there was no motion or whatever the council may do on this particular item.
All right, so at this point, there will be no action on item C at all. Is there any questions or comments from the council on this?
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I would just like to say that I was not for this proposal at all. And I know that Councilmember Bowman, Perry, Bro, Quiznow, and Camacho had all come to some type of agreement for this proposal as an agenda item for the study session last week. There were still a couple of questions that I didn't really get a chance to ask, but I might send an email out later. I am curious though, what the rush was. I also am not in favor of revisiting it in February of 2027 to see if we can put it on the ballot. In the future, I would very much hope that as a council, that we would have the opportunity as a full council to discuss and give our input into any future agenda items, especially ones such as this one. which would fundamentally change the structure of our city government. I'm still not clear what the purpose or the intent of this proposal was. I'm curious and baffled at the same time. But I would love for the opportunity in the future as a council for us to do better and to do better for the citizens of this community. I'm going to reiterate that I am not 100% not in support of this and never was. And I believe it's very wise on the council's part to not proceed with this. And I just want to thank you for your attention to this matter and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Anybody else on council like to address this item?
Yeah, I would.
Okay,
You know, and I have to concur with, and piggyback on what Miss Morton was saying. I gave this a lot of thought, and you know what I came up with is, yeah, we can vote for, it'll change our way of government by making it a strong mayor and voting the mayor into that position. But with that said, I was also looking at what would happen if we actually went through with this. I was looking at financial costs. I was looking at what would happen to the staffing if we move forward with this. And you know, my bottom line is, unless somebody can come up with something viable and a reason why we should change this, even I would be against this. I'm just trying to be as transparent as possible, but I'm also a firm believer. If it's not broken, I don't want to fix anything. You know, and that's just the way it is. And that's the way I operate. And if somebody can come out here and there was malfeasance and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that, then hey, by all means, you know, we conduct our investigation and we make that determination through a conclusion. But to just come out and you know, propose something like this, I sat down for a whole week asking myself, why? Why are we going to fix something that, you know, and I'll tell you right now that even at the activity on the park, I was only there for 2.5 hours, and people were coming up to me saying, hey, what's going on? What's this thing like about, you know, we're changing this and that. Everything seems to be working. So as a new council member, I try to dissect everything before we jump in to anything, because one, I know it's going to cost us. This is not going to be cheap to put it on the ballot. And two, the staff structure. How is that going to change? I know something's going to happen with the staff, and I just happened to read an article on Cheney when they did it. At the key staff that stepped down from their positions, that did not help Cheney at all, because now they were struggling to put things back together. And not to mention, and again, I'm new in the council, but you know, I look at Albert, and as long as he's been on the city council, you know, as a city manager, the rapport and the relationships that he has built, I don't know who's going to take his place if we lost him. And I'm just being very truthful. You know, I really don't. You can give me that job. I don't want it. There's just so much involved in this thing. And, you know, at face value, it's okay, strong mayor, we're going to vote him in. Well, that's not it. There's more to it when we do this. And it's very critical that we put, you know, our thoughts together. And because I definitely right now, unless someone can give me a viable reason, I'm not for this either. I'm not. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Just to make sure I say the technical part, if there's no motion to approve this, then it essentially dies. I just want to make sure that's clear.
yep. All right. Any other questions, comments? Okay, well, item C dies. It does not move forward. I don't see any calls for any TBD. Is there any citizen comments or any signups that we have? Okay. No, that's perfectly fine. If you'd like to come up and address the council and give you. And if you want to sign in right here as well. Yeah. All right. Floor is yours.
Thank you. And I'm not here about like anything super substantive. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for coming out a couple of weeks ago on the Highland Village tour. It was great to get to know all of you a little bit and talk to you about the past, present, and future of Highland Village. I think Habitat just really got a lot out of that tour, and it was awesome to just build some more relationship and get to know all of you. So that was great. For those of you who haven't made it out, I guess you're the only one who's here. If you have some time, I would love to make some time for a tour. We're super flexible, so anything that works for your schedule, we would be happy to have you out. If that's not something you're interested in, that's also great. And then also Mayor Bowman, we loved your idea of a roundtable. And I think we are going to be having a meeting about that tomorrow internally, and we'll be reaching out to you about what that could potentially look like with our staff and anyone on council or in the community who's interested in being in conversation. So yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Any other comments? Being any? No. Okay. All right. No call for any
Oh, hold on
executive
one
session.
moment. There's a comment in the chat.
Okay, and that was, would you like to read that? I can't see it from over here. Okay.
Ms. Inman says, thank you. I support Councilmember Morton on the strong mayor. I fully disagree with a strong mayor.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your comment. All right, no call for an executive session. We'll go ahead and adjourn at 6:07. Thank you, everyone.